What up, y'all? This DJ Illmatic back once again, coming at you live and direct, straight from my crib, USA, daily operation, episode 24. Here to chop it up with you about all the goings on in the gaming world today. Electric relaxation. This week I spent pretty much all my time playing Rory McIlroy PGA Tour golf. Overall, I have to say I'm disappointed with the game. Now, first of all, let's talk about what it does right. Graphically, it looks very good. There's a lot of pop in, however, which doesn't do well for the game. But overall, it looks beautiful. Plays a really good game of golf. Also has a lot of features in terms of adjusting the difficulty or style of play. Whether you want a more arcade or sim style, you can do that. So there are a lot of options there for you. Really enjoyed playing the game so far. My biggest complaint and the biggest problem with it is that EA has taken so much out of the game. And this has kind of been EA's MO for their sports franchises when they first appear on a new console. And so if we've learned anything this console generation, is that when the PlayStation 5 and or the next Xbox launches, do not buy EA Sports' first iteration of a sports title on the console because they take so much of it out. Now, I could have kind of understood that if the game came out at the launch of these new systems, but to come out about 2.5 years after these systems have been out, I really don't see why they've taken so much out. It starts with, and it's not, they took out a lot of courses. I believe the last game had launched with about 16, I believe. This game, I believe, launches with 8 actual courses, 3 fantasy courses, and then if you pre-ordered, you got another course of 12. The lack of courses doesn't really bother me as much because I know courses are on the way through DLC. Now, I might not actually agree with it, especially if they're going to charge. Depending on what they charge, I might not be happy with it. But I know courses are on the way, so that didn't necessarily alarm me that it didn't have a lot of courses. What bothers me is they took so many features out of the game. It starts off when you start your career mode. Creating your player in the career mode, there are very few options where in the past you can adjust so many things, hairstyles, all these other things. You have a preset face to pick from. You can change a couple of things like eye color and all that, but there are a lot fewer options when it comes to creating your golfer. Then there are fewer options when it comes to upgrading your character. It used to be that you could choose where to spend your XP and what attributes to upgrade. Now that is gone. Now it just randomly chooses what attributes to upgrade. They did add an interesting mechanic where you unlock these attribute slots and then you choose. So for instance, I think one is going for the green, and if you choose that as in your attribute slot, that upgrades your power and your driving, but at the expense of some other things. And ultimately, you can unlock 4 attribute slots to put various attributes in there. There's another one like Magician that does something with your recovery and your spin. That's an interesting mechanic, but the fact that I can't choose what to upgrade kind of bothers me. There's also a lot fewer options in terms of gear for your character as well. Then when you get out on the course, they took a lot out of the career mode itself. There is no trophy room. When you actually win a tournament, all you get is a static screen that has a little write-up that you won this tournament and you had this to say about it, instead of actually having any kind of trophy presentation, any kind of trophy room to show off what you've won. The courses, there are no stats kept for the courses. One of the things I liked about the old PGA Tour games was that you could, each course had records for that course, and so longest drive, longest putt from this particular hole, all these various things, and so it gave you something to shoot for as you play these courses over and over again to try to break these records. All of that is gone. When you tie, now I've tied once in my career, but it said the EA Sports Charity Invitational, so I'm not sure if it was just because it was a charity event, although because it also happened in playing with friends online, I kind of think it might be just par for the course, or it's in all the modes. But when you tie, instead of going into a playoff, a 4-hole playoff, or a whole nother round playoff, however they do it for that tournament, when you tie, you just tie. And so the event I tied in my career mode, they gave me the win, even though I was tied with someone else. When you play online and tie, you just tie, and so that's it. That's very disappointing as well. Overall, they've taken so much out of this game. Now, normally, EA's MO is to take a bunch of features out the first year, and then when they release it the following year, they add those features back in. Now, I don't agree with that way in which EA Sports basically extorts money out of the customers. However, that sounds a lot preferable than the option, which is waiting several years, because reading an article on Operation Sports, one of the producers of the PGA Tour Golf franchise said that this is not going to be a yearly iteration. So we're not going to have another one next year. I doubt they go more than 2 years. But it's not going to be a yearly iteration, and they're going to release a whole bunch of DLC to support the game in the next couple of years. That sounded good when I first heard it, but now it kind of bothers me because unless they upgrade or release a huge patch that can add a trophy room, or add a huge patch that keeps stats and records for all these courses, if they can add all these things they took out back in through a patch, which I'm not sure how feasible that is or if it's something they would even want to do, unless they add all this stuff back, this game isn't going to have much longevity. Now, of course, I know they'll have some courses on the way. I just, like I said, I'm concerned that there's not going to be enough to keep me coming back to this game. I enjoy the golf itself. I enjoy how the game plays, but it's very, very disappointing they've taken so much out of the game. And so if you're on the fence about this, honestly, I would recommend, if you're on the Xbox One side and you have EA Access, I would wait for it to be free on EA Access. Don't spend your money on this. If you're over on the PlayStation side, I would definitely wait for a sale. Wait till you can catch it for $20, $30 on sale or used. It's definitely not worth the full retail price with all the things they've taken out. Like I said, it plays a very good, solid game. They've just taken so much out that it almost feels like Royal McIlroy PGA Tour Golf is basically the free Drive Club PlayStation Plus edition compared to the actual retail version. They've taken so much out that it almost feels like a glorified demo to get you to buy the retail version, but sadly this is the retail version. Alright, next up we have Buck 'em Down. This is a segment of the show we buck down the foolishness and the ignorance in the gaming world today. And with the launch of another sports game, I have heard a lot, and I saw this in E3 and I've heard it for years. For whatever reason, sports gamers and actual gamers don't get along. Now, I'm not sure which side has more animosity. Honestly, I think gamers themselves have more animosity towards sports gamers because I know several people who only play Madden and NBA 2K, and that's the extent of their gaming. And they honestly, I've never really heard them bash gamers or other games because honestly they don't really follow it enough or care. But I do constantly hear gamers bashing sports gamers or sports games themselves. Now, the biggest bash on sports games is, all they do is, it's the same game as last year, they just did a roster update. Now, that's not necessarily, that's no more true than it is for, say, Call of Duty being the same exact game, just with new maps. The sports games, now I've always cut sports games slack because, first of all, you have to understand that you're playing with a set confine of rules. You can't reinvent football. You can't reinvent basketball, okay? So the rules you play within with this game are always going to remain the same. So there's only so much newness they can bring to the game. They can't do like, say, for instance, Bungie did with Destiny to try to reinvent or reinvigorate the first-person shooter genre. You can't do that with Madden or an NBA basketball game. You have to live within those set confines of the rules and the leagues in which you're portraying in your video game. Also, being a yearly iteration, they only have 9 months development cycle, and so it's very hard to just revamp everything in 9 months. And that's not to let them off the hook. I've bashed 2K for years because their NBA 2K franchise, while it is to me the best sports franchise out there, every year their online stability is atrocious, and so I'm not letting them off the hook for that. But I do understand you only have 9 months, so you're only going to be able to do so much, and so I kind of let them off the hook for that. Also, if you're a true sports gamer, you understand and you notice the subtle differences they put in. For someone who doesn't play sports games, maybe it just looks like a roster update, but if you're really into a Madden or a 2K, you can really notice the subtle differences. But one of the things that bothered me, and I heard this at E3 and actually heard it on the Kind of Funny Games cast and I cannot remember his name. Jason, not Jason. Anyways, one of the guys, it wasn't Greg or Colin, the other guy, Tim. He said that he wished EA during their E3 press conference wouldn't have put those sports games out there, that if a sports gamer wants to know about the new Madden or the new FIFA, that they can just go to IGN or go to a website. Don't waste our time with that at a press conference. To me, that is an asinine argument, because he also then later says Nintendo had games that he didn't care about, but he didn't mind Nintendo talking about them because, well, they were actual games. And basically that insinuates that sports games aren't actually games. Now, if you're not into sports games, I respect that. But there are a lot of us out there who are. Madden and 2K and FIFA sell and do huge numbers in terms of sales each year. So there's a large fan base out there for these games. Now, if you're not a huge sports fan to start with, these games probably aren't going to speak to you. I'm a huge basketball fan, and so I can't wait each year for a new basketball game, especially because I'm a Knicks fan, so the only way they're ever going to win the championship, apparently, is if I do it in a video game. But as a sports gamer, as a sports fan, I enjoy sports games. And I love the competition, playing with friends, having bragging rights, doing all the trash talking. It goes all the way back to when I was young, playing against people in Tecmo Bowl. And so sports games are just as much games as the Fallouts, the Call of Duties, whatever it is you want to put out there. They belong just as much as the rest of those. Now, if you don't support them, it's not for you, that's completely fine. But all this bashing and negativity, oftentimes when you try to talk about a sports game, the gamers will just dismiss you and, oh, who wants to talk about the new Madden? It's just like last year. That's not necessary. You can do there are several game franchises that we all like that maybe not everyone else likes. I've never understood Pokemon. I know a lot of people grew up on Pokemon. I have never understood it. That being said, I'm not going to bash it because it's just not for me. Minecraft is probably the hugest game out there now. I have no interest in playing that. It doesn't speak to me. That being said, when they make a Minecraft announcement at an E3 press conference, or when a article is posted about Minecraft or someone talks about Minecraft, I'm not going to dismiss their opinion or what they're talking about because it doesn't speak to me. And that's the same thing. We should show sports games and sports gamers that same respect. Maybe all they do is play sports games, although keep in mind there are a lot of gamers like me who play everything and love sports games just as much. But even if that's all they play, that's fine. That's what they enjoy. They deserve a place in this gaming universe just as much as the Fallout fans or the Halo fans. And so there's no reason to dismiss people or dismiss people's likes because you don't like it yourself. Sports games definitely have a place. Definitely have a place at E3. I look forward to the new trailers or the new demos of the Madden and the 2Ks to see exactly what they're doing different, what they're bringing to the table. And so I deserve to see that at E3 as well. I shouldn't have to go to a website to see that. Alright, y'all, that's all the time we got for this week's episode of Daily Operation. Once again, it's been DJ Illmatic, Daily Operation, episode 24. Once again, check us out at 8bitchimp.com for all that gaming flavor you savor, 8bitchimp.com. Also, check me out. My podcast is on iTunes, so if you just want the audio version, go to iTunes, search 8bitchimp, and you'll find Daily Operation. Hit me up on YouTube, DJ_Illmatic. Also on Twitch at the same thing, DJ_Illmatic. Check me out on Twitter, DJ Illmatic23, no space, no underscore altogether. Get at me at one or all three of those things. I will get back at you. Fat shout to my organized gamers family. Once again, y'all, this DJ Illmatic, Daily Operation. We out, y'all. One.
That is an excellent play right there. The approach, getting him another good look. Makeable putt right here, currently sitting at 1 under for the round. That is some good work right there. Birdie and one shot closer to the lead. Frank, right where you want to be at the midway point of a tournament.
Yeah, you know your game's solid. The focus is more on the leader and that you can just go out and play. Excellent position to be in.